Welcome to the introductory video for the unit on variables, measurement, variability, and validity. As you can tell by the end of the unit, I really hope you're going to have a greater understanding and familiarity with a number of topics. Those topics are related to primarily this design and method stage, but as you'll find out, it comes around to also influencing how we can interpret the results. Our key concept, or one of our key concepts here, is what we call a variable. Any event, situation, behavior, individual characteristic that has at least two values. It might not take you long to realize there are very few things in life that don't have at least two values. Or whether it's sort of quantitative or categorical things like man or woman or hot or cold, or whether it's more quantitative, the numerical values like what the actual temperature is or our score on a test. There are a lot of things that have values. In research, we determine a specific value through a process called measurement. Measurement really is just that process of assigning numbers or assigning symbols according to specific rules. Part of the trick in psychological research, though, is that it's not always easy to measure. We can't take personality, necessarily, and put it on a scale or put it next to a ruler. We don't have a thermometer that lets us see it, and even if we're looking through a set of binoculars to observe it, we have to define it. And so in psychological research in particular, our operational definitions are key. Operational definition is the way that we make something measurable that might not otherwise have a quantity or a value assigned. So we may decide it's cold because ice will form, or because people are wearing masks or scarves. We might determine the point in time based on the calendar or based on where the sun is at. It's our operational definition, then, our process of finding the exact meaning of our variables. And it might be observational, it might be a process, it might be a measurement, but it comes around to helping us understand what we've got going on. In psychology, that process tends to fall into three categories: the physiological measures like heart rate or EEG, self-report measures like surveys, questionnaires, tests, or inventory, or motor responses. We watch what somebody actually does. Depending on how we operationalize a variable, our information is going to fall in one of four scales of measurement, and they're either qualitative or quantitative. Definitely want you to make sure and look at the information and know about the different scales of measurement. It's going to influence our interpretation process later. The other key thing with measurement is these ideas of reliability and validity. So reliability is the consistency of our measure. Do we always get the same result? So on the top, if we consistently got the idea of a sheep, that means we have a pretty reliable measure. But if at one point it comes up, no, that's got the characteristics of a sheep. Oh, no, that's got the characteristics of a wolf. Oh, no, maybe it's a sheep. That's not really a reliable measure. And so we don't exactly know what we're measuring. Validity is another characteristic of measurement that we want to think about. And validity essentially asks, are we measuring what we think we're measuring? Sometimes I tend to think of this as being like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I might say I'm looking at a sheep, but really, yeah, that's a wolf. Another consideration relates to the larger validity of our study in terms of the way the designs and the methods come together to allow us to make strong conclusions. We refer to that as internal validity. And we'll talk about 8 different sources or 8 different threats to internal validity. We can use the acronym Mrs. Smith to remember those. Another concern where measurement and internal validity intersect is this idea of obtrusive measures and reactivity. If our measures make the participant act differently just because of this process, we need to question whether we're really measuring what we think we are measuring and whether we can draw the conclusions we want to draw. Part of the reason we're concerned about this is because it affects our variability, and the variability is what we're all about. We want to see that systematic variability and reduce extraneous variability, reduce the error in our studies.